Did they say, you know, we can definitely get it? Did they say we may not, we won't know until we get in there? What did the doctors tell you?
At first they said they could only get 75% of it because it had grown so close to my brainstem and they couldn't get it without hurting me. But once they got in there, they said they got 99%. So
what about the 1% they didn't get?
We don't have to worry about it because the chances of it growing back are like 0.
Is there a chance that you'll get another growth? I thought they said it was something having to do with your mom, like when you were born. So how can they say that you definitely won't get another one? They're just hopeful that you won't get another one?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did the seizures affect your everyday life when you were actually having them?
I couldn't get out and do much because if I got too hot, then that part of my brain would get irritated.
So what do you mean by you couldn't do much?
Like, I couldn't go out and skate. I couldn't do anything that caused a lot of stress.
What about school? What about schoolwork? That causes stress.
It was all right.
They made an exception for that because it was school? So you couldn't do any necessarily fun activities then?
I could. I just had to be careful.
Well, like what could you actually do that was a fun activity? You said you couldn't skate, so what is it that you could do that's not as stressful as skating then?
I started playing guitar.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. But could you do physical activities? Like get out there and run, ride a bike, stuff like that?
Yeah.
You could still do that?
Yeah. It was just, I really had to be careful and watch how much I did so I didn't get too stressed out.
So, okay, so if you went out and you rode a bike, for example, how long could you ride it? Or how far could you ride? What means you have to watch it so you don't get too stressed out? What does that mean? Because your idea pertaining to seizures is different than someone else's idea without having seizures.
Well, it's like, as long as I want to, as long as I'm not, like, getting really hot and sweaty.
Okay. So really, like, perspiration caused stress?
Just too much activity.
So once you had the surgery, how long did it take you to recover? Or let's back up. What did the doctors say would be your recovery period?
They said that I was going to have to stay in the hospital for recovery for about a week.
Okay, and then what happened to prolong your recovery?
I came down with chemical meningitis.
And what is that?
That's when the spinal fluid gets up into your head, it leaks, and it caused pressure on my brain.
And how did you know that you had that? Or how did you know something was wrong?
It felt like someone was sitting on my head.
And did you immediately tell the doctors?
I tried, but they were indecisive at first, so we didn't know what to do. We just had to keep trying.
What do you mean they were indecisive?
They weren't sure yet, you know, what it was. They thought maybe it was just because of the brain surgery I'd have a headache.
And so what made them finally decide that it was something besides a headache?
They went in and did a spinal tap.
But did you have to persuade them to do a spinal tap, or were they like, okay, well, let's go do a spinal tap and see?
My mom had to talk to him. I don't know exactly what was said, but... Yeah.
Mom's persuasion?
Yeah.
And so when they did the spinal tap?
They stuck a rod up my back.
Ooh.
Into my, I don't know, into
there. Somewhere.
And they drained a bunch of fluid out of my skull.
And so what would have happened if they wouldn't have done that?
I probably would have just got worse until, I don't know. This is a good thing that they decide to do that.
I would say so.
I don't know if there could be long-term effects. I don't know.
Your recovery would have been a lot longer. So after you had chemical meningitis, how long did it take you to recover from that?
About another week.
Okay, so you got out of the hospital, what, 2 weeks later?
It took 3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay. And how difficult, did you have a lot of pain in like excruciating pain after the surgery? Besides, could you differentiate between the pain from the surgery and the chemical meningitis?
Yeah, after we got all the fluid out, it wasn't like I'd still have headaches, and they give me medicine, but it wasn't that bad anymore.
So you knew you were going to have headaches from the surgery?
Yeah, they told us ahead of time.
And so, like, explain the headaches. Is it like, oh, my head hurts? Is it a migraine? Is it you can't get out of bed? You can't see? The light hurts your eyes?
Yeah, my eyes did hurt because the light, like, you turn on the lights too quick.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on after the surgery, they weren't that bad anymore. At first, they were pretty bad, like a migraine, I guess you could say that. But after a while, they just kind of went away. So it's cool.
So it was cool.
It was cool.
It was cool. And so did they give you medicine to help them go away, or they just went away on their own?
They would give me medicine as I'd have the headaches, but not just...
They wouldn't do it to prevent a headache. They would do it after you already have a headache?
Yeah.
Okay. So why did they not, if they knew that you were going to get a headache, why did they not give you medicine to try and prevent one coming on?
I don't know.
Okay, and was that the only side effect of the surgery, was a headache?
Well, after a while, we realized I had a short-term memory loss, but it got better over time, too.
So what could you remember?
I didn't remember much, like, right after the surgery. Before the surgery, everything was fine. I remembered all that, but after a while, I just forget small things.
Like, give me an example.
Like conversations, things like that.
Like, could you remember your parents' names, where you lived?
Yeah, I could remember all that. It was just like, long term was fine. It wasn't that big a problem.
How fast did it come back? About
till 8 months now. 7 months, and I haven't had a problem.
With the memory?
Yeah, I haven't had a problem with that in 7 months.
So how long did it last then? The memory loss?
9 months. 9 months.
That's a long time. So how did that affect schoolwork?
It didn't really affect my schoolwork, but I did have some problems.
Like what?
Like, the teacher would teach me something, and then by the end of the week or the next week after that, I would have forgot how to do it. Like math class.
That's easy to forget. Well, what did the teacher say? Did you tell the teacher this? And did they believe you?
Yeah, they were okay with it.
And so how did you handle that pertaining to your schoolwork?
If
you didn't remember how to do it?
Kept asking for help. I mean, I was struggling, but it worked out.
And so what are you able to do now that you weren't able to do before when you had the seizures?
I can do whatever I want to.
You can do whatever you want?
Whatever I want to. I can drive.
You can drive. That's a big one. Especially because you started having seizures at 12. So what were the qualifications for you to start driving?
I had to be seizure-free for 6 months.
And so when did you get your permit?
I got it, I think, 2 months ago.
And so when are you planning on getting your license? Well, I'm sure, when are you planning, not your parents, when are you planning on getting your license?
As soon as I can. It's exciting.
What's your goal for that? Your timeline? So I can make sure I'm not on the road. I'm just kidding. Are you going to wait till after you graduate? Or are you going to get it before?
I'm going to try to get it as soon as I can. You have to have your permit for
Oh, you do?
6 months, I think.
Oh, and you just got your permit a couple months ago? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought once you reach a certain age, if you get your permit, okay, I didn't know. Didn't know the rules, sorry. So in the 6 months, then you'll get it. And what are you going to do then?